Welcome again to the panel discussion on empowering future leaders with a focus on aligning student passions with profitable career paths for success. Today, we've brought together a group of experts and founders to share the insights and perspective on this topic, and I'm sure we'll definitely gain something from them. First, I would like to introduce to my right Tunde Ogunsina, the founder at Forest Colard, a London-based influencer marketing agency. And then we have Sam Moinet, who is the student life coach and founder at StudentBreakthrough. So they focus on solving problems for students across the world. Unfortunately, our third panelist, Natasha Pierce, wasn't able to join us today. But however, I'm very pleased to welcome Uche Ojukwu, who is a vice president and he also currently works in investment banking. So once again, thank you all for being here. I'm really excited for what I'm sure will definitely be an insightful discussion. We are also going to have a wider discussion with our speakers, but I'm also really keen to hear from our audience on any contributions or questions that you may have towards the end of this discussion. So to set the scene quite a bit, we hear of many graduates and students who face difficulties securing employment within their preferred area of study, or perhaps lack the skills and resources required by their chosen profession. And so as a result of that, securing rewarding careers or achieving a financial stability remains an obstacle for many graduates today. Entrepreneurship education itself is very important, and we are seeing how this is helping to reduce the student unemployment, especially in disadvantaged areas where there are limited opportunities. And so, today's discussion really is just to explore, other strategies to help students hone their talent, develop their expertise, as well as enable them to overcome these challenges. So to kick off the first topic on skills, talent, and values, I will just start this discussion with Sam. If you would just like to share a bit more about your background and how you were able to identify your skills, your interests, and values to help you succeed as a founder.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name's Sam. I'm the founder of StudentBreakthrough and the Educators Coaching Academy. I'm a former teacher, an entrepreneur, and international coach and speaker. And when it comes to learning your skills, values, and interests before you start any company is obviously super important, but sometimes you just got to take the first step. Dr. Moses talked about that really nicely in his talk. So I was a high school teacher. I taught high school history for students. And looking back, when I created my first company back in 2018, values were really important, because when you can find your values, then you can start making decisions based on those values. So for me, that business, it was called StudentBreakthrough. And the brand, the logo, was like a communist propaganda fist, like this, like standing for something different, because one of the values is revolution. Okay, we're here not just to play it safe. If you're an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be playing it safe either, I think. You should be going out there challenging the status quo. So that value, for instance, for me of revolution, means that the decisions I make for the business are tied to that value. Are we doing something different? Are we pushing the boundaries? So it's important, if you're setting out, to ask yourself, what are your values? That's a great question. I invite you to write down, what are your values? Because if you're building a personal brand, if you're building a business, those are the building blocks to start you on your journey. So I think that was the values one.
Yeah.
Skills?
Yeah.
Yeah, the skills one is actually understanding who you are and what you're really good at. Like for me, I was great at teaching, I'm great at coaching, I'm great at speaking. And recently, with my own brand, I realised, what am I good at? Which is being on camera, and I'm okay at public speaking. What are most people not so good at? Being on camera and public speaking. So I'm going to dial all down on that, on my skills. And I'll ask yourself, what are your strengths as well? And there's a great site called VIA Character Strengths, where you can complete a whole strengths profile, gives you your top 5 strengths, and then again, go all in on that, what you're good at. Okay. And then do what you're interested in as well. Like find that sweet spot. For me, it was a teacher. And now I live in Portugal and I trained like teachers internationally. So it starts from one decision and just saying yes and having that courage to step out, and then you have no idea like where things are going to go and what it's going to take.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that. So it's all about knowing what your strengths are and understanding what your interests are. Okay, so let's hear from Tunde. What were some of the initial stages of, that you faced in the early year of starting your business? I believe you've established a 7-figure business. I'm still, waiting for my business to get to that stage, but I'm sure we'll get there someday. But, it'd be great to understand a bit more of the challenges that you faced in the early years of starting your business and how you were able to overcome these obstacles. For example, the knowledge needed, the resources needed to start your business.
Yeah, so my name's Tunde and I run a talent agency called Forest Colard. And I guess for me, mine comes from a different perspective. I guess my biggest challenge was actually for my family. I am from a Nigerian household and I studied civil engineering at university. I did a master's in it. I worked at Battersea Power Station for 3 years. I was a project manager and it was just very stable and my parents were happy. And I knew I wanted to do something more creative. So I started this agency, and every single day for the first, I want to say, even up to this day, my parents are still telling me, "Are you never going to go back to using your degree?" And that was a real challenge for me because the people that were most closest to me were the ones, not I guess rooting for me to fail, they just weren't ready to see me win, right? So for me, it was just pushing through and I guess making sure that I was just proving them all wrong and just making sure that I knew this is something that I wanted to do, and if I knew that, then my parents knew that and were to start, supporting me. I guess for me, once my parents hearing me work with brands that they would never ever thought that they'd see me working with, that was when they started to really believe in what I was doing, and that gave me the confidence and the push to keep on growing. And in regards to the knowledge gap, right?
Yes.
I'm quite lucky in the fact that when I have worked with clients, I make sure that I make those relationships a lot more personable. So if there are things that I don't understand, I don't feel afraid to go and ask them those questions, and they can give me the knowledge that I need and places to go to find that information. So I can make sure I'm building on that as we grow the agency.
Fabulous. So would you say that your degree in school had everything to do with your success today?
I would say the only parts that are relevant was just understanding how to do something from beginning to end, not the actual knowledge of the numbers and soil and all that stuff, but definitely being able to project manage is definitely something that I do every single day across all the projects that we work in.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that, Tunde. So I understand that in your business you focus on branding as part of it,
Yeah.
right? So what role would you say branding play in successfully turning your business into a strong brand? And what steps can aspiring entrepreneurs take today to develop a strong brand for themselves?
Of course, I guess there's two approaches. So there's the personal brand, which is me, but there's also the brand about how the logo and our materials look like. So in regards to the personal brand, I just wanted to make sure that when somebody saw me, they saw the values that the company has. So I was very personable, I was very kind, very nice, and I cared more about the people and who working with the project we're working on, so people understood that's what values that the company had too. So I made sure that I was always checking in with clients. I made sure that when working on projects that it's not that they win, it's we win too. And if they lose, we lose too. So they sort of knew that we were also in that with them, and they could sort of see that that's what the wider agency ethos is. And in regards to that, how the brand of actually the company looks, we definitely went across down that approach where the company name has nothing to do with what the company actually does, and we wanted to make sure that the name could be something that could be used for anything else. I had this idea at the beginning that I wanted Forest Colard to be this huge group, and it would have 20 different businesses. So I tried to have a name that could be resonated with all of those things, and I guess it's worked in our favour. So our logo is literally black and white, Forest Colard, in simple font, and so many people ask for merchandise, so we started to do the merchandise, and people wear it every single day, and that's really getting our name out there. And it's a very strategic move. We send it to all our clients, and then they wear it in their offices, then their colleagues are asking them, oh, what is this brand that you're wearing? And they realise that it's a talent agency and that's actually one of the small work. So we paid careful attention to how we sort of like branded ourselves and like calling the company and how we positioned ourselves.
I think that's powerful because, you know, it's the small details that matter, you know, keep it simple and classy. I remember, you know, working with few aspiring entrepreneurs myself, and, you know, they were very focused on the big stuff, you know, get the website, get the, you know, very fancy merchandise and so on. And, you know, it's great to hear that, you know, just focusing on the little stuff and knowing how to enhance that in a way that it also relates or resonates with your audience. Thank you very much for that, Tunde. So I guess the second topic we'll also explore is on the key strategies for transitioning into a new career after graduation. So, you know, I'll just shift a bit over to Uche. I know you're feeling a bit lonely over there, but so starting with you, Uche, could you share with us what steps you took in school to lay the groundwork to prepare you for your career now in investment banking?
Hello everyone. Steps you take in uni that help you prepare. I think a lot of times people do or participate in things in university that they don't realize could help them. The thing is, working in investment banking is there's a lot of transferable skills that you have that you don't know you have. You've worked in teams before, you've supported courses before, you've maybe run projects before, and they could have nothing to do with what you studied, for example. But it doesn't mean that there are skills that you didn't learn in those phases of your life that could not be used when you want to do a certain career or you want to choose a certain pathway in your career. And I think that when you open yourself up to just, you know, if it's sports you're interested in university, go for it. If you find a club or an association that you want to get involved in, completely go for it. You know, there are a number of skills that you pick up there that you can use, that when you get to interviews and they ask you certain questions, you can pick up your experiences. And these are things that a lot of people who interview or hiring managers, they love to hear. They love to hear your varied experience about how you didn't just study your books, but you got involved in sports. You know, you got involved with raising money for charity, no matter what the cause is about. You got involved in running for the half marathon, for example, and the things that you learned from that. So I think, you know, a lot of times we do have the experience, but a lot of times people don't know that they have experiences that they could pick on that could still be used. Sometimes some other people focus so much on the academical aspect that they don't pour themselves into the non-academical side of university, which really helps hone a lot of even the soft skills that you could use and it could be transferred into I didn't study anything investment banking related. So, you know, it could even help you in, sometimes they don't look for the exact skills of what you studied. They just look for, you know, what are the transferable skills that you've learned and how can that be transferred into the workplace.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that, Uche. What would you say are the soft skills that are really important now in the industry?
That's a really good question. What are the soft skills needed now? I think we were doing an interview earlier and I mentioned resilience a lot. And I think it's something now that a lot of people who we find people who just, you know, they start things and they give up quite easily. Most of the challenge we have in this generation is people who are just willing to stick at things, you know, like the fact that you don't get it immediately doesn't mean you will not get it eventually. And there is the act of just being resilient at what you want to put your heart and your mind to do. There are things like emotional intelligence, just understanding how to relate with people, understanding how to communicate with people. I think communication is obviously a big one in organizations because understanding how to just communicate, be clear, be proactive in your communication. And these are things that can help you irrespective of what level you're at, whether you're at a junior level or you're at a senior level. There are people who are senior staff who struggle a lot with communication, and it's hard knowing how to communicate upward and downward and sideways and things like that can help you, irrespective of what level you are. Trust me. Being someone who can learn, you're always willing to learn. You know, some people want to get to the top of the ladder so that they can start telling other people what to do. Some people say, I want to climb up to a point where, you know, no one's telling me what to do, but I just get to tell others what to do. But it doesn't matter where you are. You have to have a heart where you're willing to learn from anyone. You're willing to learn from those who are below you in the career chain. You're willing to learn from those who are your colleagues. You're willing to learn from those who are above you. And having just that spirit where you're willing to pick up skills, whether they be technical skills or non-technical skills. These are things that you never outgrow, to be honest. You would need them wherever it is you are, you find yourself.
Thank you very much, Uche. Another question to you is, in today's competitive job market, how can recent graduates effectively differentiate themselves from other candidates, you know, and have that strong impression by potential employers?
Good question. Events like this help, I would say. I think, you know, you go so many places and you hear so much about networking, and sometimes it's like, it's yet another networking event again. You know, it's like, you know, I need to go make small talk, and I need to go, you know, act like, you know, I know what I'm talking about. And it can prove quite challenging. And I think sometimes just being your authentic self, even when you meet people and you try to find out what they do, and but you still can't take away the networking aspect of it. I think there is, yes, the act of, you know, sitting behind the screen and maybe sending out cover letters over and over and over and over again. There's also the act of, you know, just meeting people and just being your authentic self. There's a friend of mine who worked at UBS, and he was a support staff, and he did the menial jobs within UBS, and he as a result of doing menial jobs on their desk, he would obviously meet with people, and he worked on the trading desk, and so he would meet a lot of the traders on the trading desk, and he made a lot of friends with them. And there was a certain day where they were on the lift. I think he was either going up to the floor or coming down, I can't quite remember. And he was talking to one of the traders, and the guy said, "Oh, you know what? They're even looking for a new trader to join their desk. This guy's got no." He said he did something completely off. He's even graduated like 5-6 years beforehand. I think he studied like English or maths or something, but he was completely not even using his degree. And the trader says to him that he really wants to. They are looking for someone who would come on their desk, and he said, "Oh, that he's always been interested in trading, and seeing them do it is something that has always been a passion." And the trader said, "Okay, you know what? That since he has the passion, that is something that maybe they would look into." Cut long story short, 2 months later, they employed him as an FX trader in UBS. You can't write this thing up. You can't make this thing up. He had no skill, no knowledge, no education, no finance, no academic backing in it. They were just able to trust him, and they liked his person, and they liked that he was genuine, and they gave him all the training. Today he's a senior director at UBS, and this is the way that you find people who just connect with other people and are authentic. And you're able to share personal stories and make those genuine connections, and you honestly never know where you can find yourself. So if you add that part to your academics that you already have, honestly, it makes you stand out, because you're your authentic and genuine self, and no one can be you and do the things and say the things that you can. So I think that can give you an upper edge.
Thank you for that. I still want to dig in a bit further into this, the whole being your authentic self. I remember when I was in uni, and even after graduation, I remember applying to over 100 jobs, and I still got over 100 rejections back. And being your authentic self, sometimes you just want to be honest about your situation. You don't have the skills, you don't have the experience that potential employers are seeking for, and so it becomes a bit overwhelming. Now, how can graduates or even young professionals still find that resilience to push forward and still be the authentic self even when they need a job, they need money?
Keep going. Keep going. Be resilient to it. I think at some point you find out that, except maybe there are things that people do that give them maybe a certain kind of privilege. You find out that with top investment banks, maybe they go recruit from certain schools, for example, and these are certain privileges that those from those schools they just have, right? I was one of those who applied to the over 300 jobs, and you just keep going, right? Eventually, maybe you get a few interviews, and you learn from those interviews, and you know the kind of things you should say and the kind of answers you should give. And the next interview you go, you've picked up from the previous interview that you had before, and you just keep going, and you go online and find events where networking events, and then you go and you meet people and you have conversations with them, and you reach out to them. You go on LinkedIn and say, "Oh, hi, I was the one you met," and it's in those communications that you should be authentic when you meet people in person. When you are submitting a piece of paper, it's hard for people to know the kind of person you are from there, right? But when you have the opportunity to meet people, when you have the opportunity to make those genuine connections in whatever kind of environment you find yourself, those are the times that you can be your authentic self and literally just communicate and say it as it is. In terms of applications, I would like we mentioned, put in as many skills or opportunities that you've had. If you are a football coach, some people do teach 6-7-year-old football. There are things you can learn from that. There are people who are teach year 7 maths, and you never really realize that there are skills that you could pick up. And I could keep telling you stories. I know a director at Google who she got the job because she was doing a design on the tube station, and the guy from Google saw her on the tube station doing a design, and they popped up a conversation. They're really crazy stories like that from people who started conversations, and they were able to be personable with others that they met, and they formed a genuine connection, and that's literally how their career has just taken a dramatic turn from there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Do you agree with that, Tunde?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then. Just to follow on from Uche's point, so what would you say are, how can graduates leverage the skills and experiences they've gained from voluntary jobs or internships and so on to be able to start a business?
Is it for me, yeah?
Yes, I'm just going to throw that in.
It's fine. I would say just really taking everything in. Like you said before, you just never know where you're going to be and who you're going to see and what you're going to be doing. So really giving it your all with all your experiences, because you never ever know where it's going to lead you. In my own personal circumstances, that I've been in places where I've overheard a conversation and I thought, okay, this is something that I want to be part of, and because I've had a knowledge of it in the past from something I've done, I've been able to add my own 2 pence to the conversation, and they've now become people that I work with day to day. So it's just really taking everything in and understanding it, and just utilising it as much as you can and when you can.
Thank you very much, Tunde. Okay, so just to hear a bit more from Sam, if you can just share your thoughts on any courses or activities that you feel that students can pursue to prepare them for the career transition after uni. Are there any courses that you would recommend?
Yeah, in terms of courses, I think it's all about looking within for the answers and understanding yourself on a deeper level. Like for many, many years, I didn't know myself, my strengths, my values, what I stood for. And it meant that when I faced failure, which I did when I was 21, I crumbled. And if I had the skills from a young age, which is why I'm so pumped about giving this to young people and students, because if you have the skills and strategies now, then later on down the line when you're going to face challenges, because I'm sorry to say, team, we're going to fail again and again and again. But if you can understand those challenges, or yourself on a deeper level. And this is, I look at courses in coaching, in counselling, in any form of talking therapy, just gives you that chance to express and not suppress yourself. And personally, as a guy, I kept all that in for so many years. When I failed, my setbacks, and I just eventually was like, if you keep shaking up a Coke bottle, eventually the lid's going to fly off, right, with the pressure. And that's what happened to me in my teaching. I had a breakdown in front of, imagine crying in front of 30, 16-year-olds. Wasn't a good look. But that actual moment of failure was then what prompted me to learn more about myself, and I went through coaching and my mental health improved. And then that was a spark to be like, well, I can help more students with this. So it starts with knowing you.
Do you think that there is enough resources out there for students? You know, we know of the internships and so on, but do you think that there is enough out there, or what more can be done to support students generally?
No, I think there's not enough, for sure. I mean, I've been working in education now for 11 years. I know at school level, I mean, you might have some people who just finished school, there's not enough mental health support, or coaching support, or the soft skills, which are actually life skills. The most important skills. I think we get so focused on grades and certificates and achievements, which are important, but actually it's what's going on underneath the surface that's going to make the biggest difference. And you can find, I know people have spoken about mentors as well. One of the best things I used to do was just reach out to people who I thought would never say yes to me asking them to go for lunch or grab a coffee. Instead of just saying, hey Tunde, can I pick your brains? I hate that question, can I pick your brains? Right. I say, Tunde, I want to take you out for lunch and grab a coffee. Like, Tunde's right, he's a good businessman. I know, just met him. He's got a great jacket, great glasses on as well. I'm jealous of that. But it's about asking people in the right way, and then learning from these people as well. And learning I think Uche mentioned, learning from people's past mistakes, and Dr. Moses mentioned that as well. Take shots, but looking at yourself within, not external all the time.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to just pause there and just hear from the audience. Do we have any questions for the speakers on some of these insights they've shared so far? If you'd just like to raise your hand and feel free. Okay. I'll just start with the beautiful lady at the back there. Sorry. If you would just like to say your name and
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Good News. So finding yourself sounds very, very interesting, and it's so easy for you to just say, find yourself. So I'm in that space where I feel like I know so much because of the level of experiences I've been able to gather over time. And now being able to carve a niche, navigate your way, especially in a new country, is overwhelming, because there are some points where I think I'm not doing enough. I'm lazy, or I haven't put in the right amount of effort. So at that point where you get to should you just sit back? Because sometimes I just feel like, okay, sit back, don't do anything. Maybe your content ideas will flow in, what you're supposed to do next will flow in, because you've been doing so much. It's just like someone that has been working out for a very long time and hasn't seen results while working out. Because I've come to learn that sometimes the change might not be so visible, but it's definitely happening. So at that point where you feel like you're not seeing anything, do you just stop? It's not quit per se, but do you just take a break and rethink, or you just keep pushing until you definitely find a way?
thank you very much for that good news. Would you like to share some good news on that?
I'll share some good news.
Yeah.
What name, by the way? Oh, Charles called good news. I might change my name. But no, great question. I think it sounds like you're on a journey like we all are, and you've grown a lot recently. One thing to be mindful of is that inner critic, that shadow part of us, the shadow good news, which is the part that it's always going to there to pull you down. It's going to get stronger. That's what happens. In my experience anyway, the more you grow, that voice of challenge actually gets stronger with it. And it's also recognizing that and I love this word, noticing. You know, like, you might use the phrase like, I am overwhelmed right now, I am so stressed. But putting this word noticing in front is like, I notice. Like, I'm noticing a part of me is a bit stressed right now. And it's not a whole you that's overwhelmed. It's just a little part of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We label ourselves, so we're quick to label, and those words create reality. But it's just a small part of us. And you've got to think about, what is that part that is triggering me at the moment? What's the part that feels overwhelmed? And then work on that. But by the way, I'm totally with you on slowing down to speed up. I don't do it very well. I'm always like, I'm just going to put pressure on myself and I keep trying to create, but nothing really happens. And then when we pause, then we can gain like insights and wisdom. So I don't think it's about sitting on binging Netflix or doom scrolling Instagram, right, for weeks on end. But for sure, give yourself a break and be like, wow, this is the gain, this is how far I've gained in the last, since you've got to track back from where you started. So the good news that started whenever that was, you've gained so much. There's a great book, by the way, called Gap versus Gain by Dan Sullivan. Amazing book. And it's all about judging ourselves on where we started, not where we are now and where we're going to get to. You've probably come a long way, right?
Yeah.
Like we all have here.
Thank you.
Right? And if you're in this event, you've come a long way just turning up. So if we can track back, wow, that's where I started. I was a history teacher 6 years ago, making 18K, teaching 350 kids a year, making a difference. And now I'm here, like running my two businesses online, living abroad. Anything's possible.
Okay, can I just say a corresponding question? So how about you've built so much experience, but as much as you know, it's not reflecting in your bank account, quote unquote. So it's possible for someone to have gathered a lot of soft skills, experience, you know what to do, you know how to do it, but it's not reflected in terms of looking at how far you've come and looking at how much you should have gathered based on the level of experience that you have. How do you balance that? I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Can I just make sure I've got it?
Yeah.
So I'm investing lots into myself and soft skills. What happens if that doesn't impact my bank account? Is that?
No. I'm saying, how do you balance amount of information, the amount of knowledge and experience that you have to the amount of actual funds that you have in your account?
Yeah, I'll answer this question. It's like almost what happens if you've got so much knowledge and you keep learning and learning and learning. And it's important to keep learning and growing, for sure, like and absorbing information, but it's about the insight that it's going to land for you. I think a lot of people get trapped, just last point, that people get trapped on like I said, the knowledge, the certificates, the awards, all that stuff. It comes down to the word action, which is the most important word, and making sure you're taking those small steps. Personally, you can never stop learning more about yourself, and it might take time. What was it, 8 years? Dr. Moses, was it 8 years for you said in your story?
In the last 8 years.
Yeah, it took you like a while to get your success, right? But you were in that mode, you were like a sponge absorbing all this stuff. It's not an overnight success. Just keep learning and growing, and then one day you'll have that penny drop, or one day you'll have that opportunity, and then you'll fly. So just stick in the game.
Yes, and I totally agree with that as well. Thanks for that little clap there. I think I resonate with that clap too. I agree with you because it might take a while, and it's okay. I remember when even when I graduated with a master's degree in marketing, I'll just give a typical example. And my first job was in McDonald's. And, and I just felt like I just wasted years in education, and, I just felt a little bit down about my growth. And you know what? I just kept on going. I thought to myself, I'm just going to try other ways of developing the skills that is needed to be able to get my foot in the door in the marketing industry. So it does take a while. It took me about 6 years to get my first job in marketing, the more profitable job. So it's that resilience, as Uche has said, and it's okay. It's okay to start all over again. Take a break. Sometimes I look at my progress and I thought to myself, this isn't enough. Especially when you have peers that are doing much better than you, and you're thinking, but you haven't even put in much work as I've done. So how does that happen? But then again, it's still trusting yourself and believing in yourself that yes, at a slow pace, I will get there. And then again, it's just that connection. Not isolating yourself and thinking to yourself that, it's just not going to work. You have to connect. It's very, very important. I'm much of an introvert, but, I had to come out of my comfort zone. Even today, it's crazy, but hey, it's those little steps that matter. And that will take you closer to your, to whatever your goal is. And then coming back to the bank account, hey, listen, I've been in situations where I had minus in my account, and I still dress good, I look good, and people are thinking, well, I have money, but I don't. But then again, it's how you present yourself. It's how people will treat you the way, I can't remember that phrase now, but I think you know what I mean. People will treat you the way you want to be treated. So, that personality, I believe my personality really got me my job, because there was nothing on my CV. There were other things that I've done, but it was just that personality. People just liked me. They just thought, let me just have some pity on you and give it a job. And that was what happened. So, it's just looking within yourself, as Sam said, looking within yourself and identifying the strong skills you have already, and also connecting with those that have the skills you don't already have, and then that would also complement what you have, if that makes sense. So connecting with people, working with people and communicating with people is very important in that journey. So I hope that has helped you from Sam's insight. I'll just take one more from Malik.
Thank you all the panelists for sharing your experiences and advice. A question I have is with regards to being your own competition. This of course, as entrepreneurs, you're on your own journey, and in your journey of self-development, you have to realize that you're not comparing yourself to other people. It's your drive and inside value that takes you where you want to be. It's your driver. So my question is to you: did the penny drop at any stage in that journey of entrepreneurship, that you are on your own journey, despite the failures that you may have had, that determination to keep going is more important than anything else around you? And I say this because I do writing on self-improvement, productivity, self-reflection. So I absorb a lot of information like podcasts, newsletters, and I read a lot of things. So I'm thinking, if you actually have that mindset, very strong mindset, as Dr. Moses said, of you're on your own journey, I call it invisible competition. Did you have the experience of that realization that that's the only way you're going to reach where you want to be?
Thank you very much, Malik. I'll just pose that question to Tunde. Give it a break on that.
No, go for it.
I think for me, when the penny dropped was, I guess, after our second and third hire. I think I didn't realise that there's a lot of pressure when you have to pay other people's full-time salaries, and it's really scary, and definitely mentally you've got to be in a really good place, and that was definitely for me where I had to start realising whoa, there's something here that I really need to hone in and focus on and make sure that it's in a good place, because if the company doesn't do well, I can't pay these people, then that's more pressure on me, right? So at that moment in time for me, I really had to start thinking about, okay, what is it that I need to be doing for me to make sure that I'm in the best mindset to continually run the business and make sure that we are creating revenue and income that can support paying my staff and growing the business at the same time. So that was definitely for me where the penny sort of dropped, and I've realised that I'm really enjoying this journey and becoming who I am, and the things I'm working on and how I'm able to support people's career paths as well. And I think it's just made me a better person, and I feel like I see things a lot differently now than I used to, working for somebody else.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so I think that ties in very nicely into the next question I have for you today, based on your very successful journey of establishing a 7-figure business. What strategies would you recommend for young entrepreneurs who are seeking investment capital for the business?
Okay. I guess my approach to this is a bit obscure. I have not had a single pound of investment, and we've been a company for 4 years now. I guess investment should be taken really seriously and carefully. I think it's great. I just don't think it's for every entrepreneur at every stage of a business. My advice to young entrepreneurs would be to really hone in on your idea first, understanding the market, and really focusing on how you're going to make that revenue. There have been so many times in the past where I've seen entrepreneurs who start business at the same time as me go look for investment, and they've realised they've given away too much percentage, and they've sort of started to lose the reins of their business, and sort of are just not, they're just not giving their all anymore. As a digital business, we have been able to like leverage our revenue and income to sort of like grow the company. Our largest resource, I would say, is our team, and we invest heavily in the talent and innovation. And by doing that, we've been able to maintain control of our whole business and really align with our long-term goals. Don't get me wrong, I do feel like investment is great, and if you are looking to scale faster than you already are doing, then go for it once you've got all that detail there. Like for us, we are trying to open offices in like LA and New York, so investment is definitely something that we now start doing because we need to make sure we have the best people on the ground and have the office space to sort of like be able to work in those markets. And ultimately, entrepreneurs should really just stay like very focused on their idea and what it is that they're wanting to do, and be using investment as a tool to grow and not a prerequisite for success. That's sort of like my mindset on investment.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Just to have an idea, how many people do you manage in your team?
7 now.
7?
Yeah, no more.
No more?
I can't do it.
Oh, wow.
not for at least this year, just 7, yeah.
Okay, so what was your strategy in building that team? Because, you know, again, if you're starting a business, you can't always do it solo, right? You need people to help you on that journey to start a business. And hold up, you also have to pay them, some of them, you have to pay them to be able to help you with that business. I know in some situations as well, you can get friends involved or family, but hey, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
But how can you build a team and still manage cost?
I actually did use my family for that. So my cousin is actually our COO. So she was working at Deloitte and she wanted a career change, and I wanted a career change. I was doing the career change at the same time, and we joined forces. And she's still my COO. And then our first hire was a guy that we knew from church. Actually, he was looking for a bit of admin work, and he helped us do all the back end of all our projects, and he's actually now a leader in the business, so he's like the third most senior in the business now. And then we've also looked at Ola's quite she's big on looking for people who have a degree and going through that process, whereas I'm more in the sense of like I like looking at people who like just show real good work ethic, who are really like gassed about the work they're going to be doing and the industry they're going to work in. And if I can see that, I'm more likely to give people a chance that way. And our team is literally half and half at university, half didn't. So yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Tunde. Just to have, just out of curiosity, how many students do we have here? Okay, fantastic. How many business owners do we have in this room? Okay, those students are upright. How many seven-figure business owners do we have in this room?
Soon.
Soon, I love that. Okay, I'll just take one because we're rounding up our panel discussion before I also introduce Business Launchpad, who will also share a very inspirational short talk in a few minutes. So I'll just take a quick question from a student. I'll just come over in a minute. What would you say is the strongest challenge you face as a student and as a founder? Okay, I'll just take one. Yeah, please feel free.
You give me one? All right, thank you. Hi, my name's Joey. I'm a founder of Webspring, which is a tech consultancy company for startups, which want to basically accelerate the tech side of their startup if they don't have the experience. And as the CEO, as the CEO of the company, the problem that I face is that a lot of my time is split between putting time into the business and then time into my studies. Because when you're not in uni and you're doing this with a full-time job, you still have your. Oh, sorry. No worries. When you're not in uni, you don't have the responsibility of going to uni as well as the funding issue. Now, a lot of the time, nowadays, a lot of students don't have money. So we have to trade our time for money for our business. But we also have time as a limited resource because we also have to study. So it's just a case of how much effort are you willing to put in and how many maybe all-nighters you might have to pull just to make sure you have a balance of both. And for me, if I can trade like a few hours of my time or for sleep, and that's not a good idea, just to show performance, that satisfaction and gratification of that performance of my business counts. And it's just finding those kind of people that are willing to go above and beyond, which I want to like go along with. I want to grow with people at the same way that I want to grow with the clients that I have and the businesses that I want to work with. But yeah, that's my challenge at the moment.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And your name, please?
Joey.
Joey, okay, thank you very much. I think I'll just pose this question to Dr. Daniel Moses. What are your thoughts on that from your personal experience? And then I'll just come over to the gentleman behind you.
Yeah. In terms of, trading time to get the money or basically overworking yourself in terms of study as well. I think one of the things that I'm very passionate about is clarity. Because once you have clarity, you're able to leverage clarity to do anything. So if you have clarity on how much hours in a day am I willing to leverage for funds? So for example, I need to get this experience from Dr. Daniel Moses. And how many hours a day can I leverage with him? And what can that return on that reward look like? All right, so everything has to have a return on investment. So either it's a return on reward or a return on capital, in capital. Does that make sense? So if you're coming to learn a skill from me, so for example, I've raised over 1.5 billion from just social media. If you want to learn that skill from me, what are you bringing to my table for me to give you that skill for free? All right, or am I just willing to give it to you completely for free? So you have to have clarity to wanting to have that skill and what do you bring to the table. Now, you can learn both at the same time, all right, or you can bring something to the table, regardless of whatever you're looking to achieve, but you have to identify, you have to have clarity. If you do gain the skills, are you then putting it to use? Because it's like a lot of people read book and get entertained by the information rather than putting information to use. So your ability to get information, leverage it correctly, which then gives you monetization or which then give you a skill, has to be based on clarity. And once you have that, you're able to either bring in some resources or you're able to get some experience.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Dr. Daniel. And I'll just take one more, the last question. Then again, we do have a networking session shortly in the solution room, I would call it, where you can ask as many questions as you want, and then we'll have the speakers and others give answers to it. But I'll just take the last question before we round up the panel discussion.
Thanks for the question. Question, Mr. Uche. You're quite right. Like, I've gotten opportunities just by meeting people in person than just sending CDs and sending things via email. And my question to you is, particularly for like investment banking, I know it's a lot of hard work and there's a lot of interviews and a lot of things you have to do. So my question is, if you could maybe share your experience of how maybe your preparation met opportunity. Thank you.
How preparation met opportunity. Let me see. I'm thinking of where I should start.
It's a big one, isn't it? Yeah.
You're right in saying investment banking is, a lot of people, some people call it old school, some people run away from it, mostly because it can be very daunting. It requires a lot of your time, your effort. It requires a lot of hard work as well. And you, at some point, you really have to ask yourself whether this is really what you want to do. And also, in addition to that, is once you have the understanding that, okay, you know what, I want to pursue this or I want to go down this lane, the way you work towards it, and that's where your preparation comes from. He spoke so much about clarity, knowing exactly what you want. So it's understanding, okay, this is really what I want to do after I've seen what it looks like. It then becomes how can I prepare towards it? Like, are there courses that I could take? Are there things that I could read? Are there certifications that I could do? Are there exams that I could take? When you are able to invest that time in doing that, it improves your chances or even getting better at the job when it comes to the technical aspects of it. I know we've spoken so much about the soft skills, but there are also the technical aspects of the job. And the technical aspects of the job come from your investment in the particular skill. If you want to work within equities, for example, are there courses, are there certifications, are there exams that you can take that could help you in that particular area? These are preparation, these are things that you could do to prepare yourself. So that by the time you get yourself in a room to have a conversation, people may get you, your authenticity might maybe get you in the door, but when they hear you speak, they want to know that at least you've got something, you've prepared yourself, you have some form of knowledge about it, some form of skill, some form of, you've done something that relates to it, and that's how your preparation helps you when you're in the door. They want to know, how much do you know, even if it's about the area, for example. A friend of mine that I have spoken about, because he had hung around with them for so long, he understood terminology. He wasn't just completely, blinded towards every single thing. He understood terminology. He understood the kind of language they spoke. He could, he could have conversations with them about the technical aspects of the role. So these are the ways that you can, even before you get yourself in the door, you can prepare yourself in this way, so that by the time you maybe meet people and they like your person and they like maybe the way you speak and the way you come across, when it now comes to talking about the technical aspects, you have something to offer. And that thing you have to offer has come from the preparation that you've done when you had nothing and you didn't even know a door was going to be opened onto you. So in that way, I always say prepare before the opportunity comes, so that when the opportunity comes, you aren't just scrambling all around. You have something to give, you have something to offer, and you show that you bring something to the table.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that insight, Uche. I hope that answers your question. So we've come to the end of the panel discussion. I hope you really gained a wealth of knowledge and wisdom from the speakers. And so I'd like to thank you all again for joining us today and just sharing your experience on this topic. Let's give it a round of applause.